Improvised cavalry parade in memory of horses killed in WWI USA 1917. Leader of the Aum Shinrikyo sect greets the mayor of Moscow at the opening of a sect branch, Russia 1992. 3 years later, members of this sect carried out a terrorist attack in the Tokyo subway. M3 submachine gun with a curved barrel for shooting around corners, USA 1953. Liberated prisoners from the German Dachau concentration camp, beating a guard dog, 1945. Treadmills were once invented as a punishment for criminals. Convicts climbed 10 to 15,000 meters, which was more exhausting than mine work. Gold mine of Bald Mountain, Brazil, 1986. In 1950, the Guinness Book of Records named Klaus from San Francisco the fattest cat. At 8 years old, he weighed 40 pounds and had a 36-inch waist. A selfie with Adolf Hitler, Germany, 1930s. A Japanese soldier who continued to wage guerrilla warfare for 28 years because he did not know World War II had ended, Japan, 1974. Afghanistan in 1973 and 2016. Inflatable bra, 1950. FBI photo montage created in 1945 in case Hitler tried to escape by changing his appearance. In the 1930s, the Soviet Union attempted to create a human-chimpanzee hybrid through insemination. The experiments were unsuccessful and were discontinued. In 1926, 24-year-old Dorothy Ellen accidentally strangled gangster Michael O'Hara with a scarf during an encounter in a brothel. Despite it being an accident, she was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Replica dog tags of every soldier who never made it back from Vietnam. Watching television in a movie theater in the city of Carpi, Italy, 1956. Prostitute's timer. In the late 19th century, French prostitutes kept sets of candles like these. Each candle burned for about 7 minutes and was lit at the beginning of a session. Many will smirk. Just 7 minutes. Many will call the girls lazy, and they wouldn't be wrong. Ethel Granger from the UK, the woman with the world's smallest waist, 1939. She was entered into the Guinness Book of Records for her 13-inch waist. According to eyewitnesses, she did this to please her husband. The last day of distributing gold, which the government had been intensively seizing from the population the entire previous year. China, 1949. Out of 100,000 people, only the first 50 who bribed the police received gold. An ancient Greek torture involved a copper or brass bowl with a hollow interior. The victim's terrible screams were amplified by the iron structure and sounded like the bull's roar. George Dyler, beer-drinking champion. He consumed a pint in 4 seconds. United Kingdom, 1954. Young lady looks at the camera while the men secure their baggage to their car. Migrants from Florida to New York in a stop in Shawboro, North Carolina, July 1940. The Real Batman, 1892. The photo shows Bill Smith, a butcher who fought off thieves and patrolled the streets of New York at night looking for criminals. A Filipino survivor of the Manila Massacre shows the attempt of a Japanese officer to behead him. The Manila Massacre, which took place between February and March of 1945 during the Philippine Campaign, took the lives of between 100,000 and 240,000 civilians, according to U.S. estimates. In 1871, American lawyer Clement Vallandigham was defending a man accused of murder after a bar fight. He built the defense on the idea that the victim accidentally shot himself while pulling out a pistol from his pocket in an awkward position. Vallandigham wanted to demonstrate this by placing a gun, which he believed was unloaded, in his own pocket. As he pulled it out, he accidentally shot himself. He died from the wound, and his client was acquitted. Pilots on a flight simulator, Russian Empire, 1915. Foreskin or death. A Pakistani soldier checks whether a man is circumcised, i.e., whether he is Hindu or not, during the Bangladesh War of Independence, 1971. This is a room full of participants in the 1980 Space Invaders World Championship. Residents of East Berlin show their children to their parents in West Berlin. Suffragette force-fed during hunger strike, Holloway Prison, UK, 1911. A shocking photo from the women's voting rights movement. Prisoners' shoes left at the site of the Butugachog camp in Kolyma, Russia, 1989. Prosthetic big toe found in the tomb of Tebeka Temet, Thebes necropolis. The explosion of a boiler in a steam locomotive, one of the many scourges of the 19th century. Despite strict regulations for boiler safety and maintenance, they exploded frequently, making the machinist's job not only hard but also dangerous. Chinese execution method, 1900. Prisoners stand on a pile of stones, with one stone removed each day until suffocation occurs. White slaves on the plantations of Barbados. Light-skinned slaves were cheaper than dark-skinned ones, as they were less resilient and obedient. Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet seated next to Imelda Marcos, wife of Filipino dictator Ferdinand Marcos, at the funeral of Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, 1975. Gerard Homel, one of the most famous mountaineers who had repeatedly climbed Everest and other great peaks, died after falling from a 2-meter ladder while changing a light bulb at home. A soldier equipped with a helmet with chainmail to protect his eyes from shell fragments, stones, and other debris. USA, 1918. If God exists, he will have to beg me for forgiveness. Inscription carved by a Jewish prisoner on the wall of a concentration camp cell. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated a few months before the creation of the Secret Service to protect the president and other high-ranking officials. Ironically, the bill to create the service was on Lincoln's desk. Photo of a Soviet war veteran near the Eternal Flame on the anniversary of Victory Day, 1966. The real Inglorious Bastards. After World War II, most Nazis responsible for the Holocaust escaped punishment. But this group of Jewish men tracked them down for years across different continents and carried out vigilante justice on several hundred Nazis. This photograph, taken on March the 17th, 1973, became a symbol of the end of the Vietnam War. In the frame, U.S. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Sturm reunites with his family after 5 years of captivity in North Vietnam. The oddest censorship. Women were forbidden from exposing their legs in the early 20th century. This led to beach inspectors actually measuring the length of their swimsuits. Walter Smith, a bandit, the scourge of the streets. Australia, 1924. Smith didn't like using weapons and killed people with his bare hands, carefully twisting their heads. The criminal case note reads, "Very dangerous, strongly exhibits sadistic tendencies, may bite." Skinheads in London, 1980. To escape violence, a man fled Burma for Bangladesh, carrying his paralyzed parents 160 kilometers, 100 miles, over 7 days. During the mass riots of autumn 2006, demonstrators managed to start an T-34-85 tank, placed on display in the city center, and attempted to break through the police positions with it. The first state of Levi's Company, founded by Levi Strauss, 1853. Parade of Hate, 50,000 Ku Klux Klan members in Washington, 1926. Black Day, the one day of the year when black visitors were allowed at the Memphis Zoo, 1959. Madame Gustaika, an Ethiopian woman with traditional lip stretching, became a sideshow act in New York. She was often shown smoking a pipe. William Harley and Arthur Davidson, 1914. The 1986 conflict between Chad and Libya is known as the Toyota War. Chad's troops were outgunned, but won because France sent them 400 Toyota pickups mounted with machine guns and anti-tank missiles. The VW Sirocco rally crew is photographed after a successful race. Germany, 1977. Ormer Locklear is considered the founder of wing walking. In 1920, he died in a plane crash while filming his movie. Drug lord and political figure Pablo Escobar in the Colombian Congress, 1982. A woman lies on the sidewalk in the Warsaw Ghetto, dying of hunger, World War II, 1941. Louise Bundy, mother of serial killer Ted Bundy, talks to him on the phone minutes before his execution. "You will always be my precious son. A mother is always a mother." Only 3 people in the USA were qualified to manually pack parachutes for Apollo 15. Their experience was so important that they were not allowed to travel together in one car out of fear that a car accident could jeopardize the entire space program. One of the first surgical procedures using ether as an anesthetic, 1850s. South Korean women weep as they listen to President Syngman Rhee speak at a memorial service in Seoul, October 17th, 1953. The service honored the 33,964 South Koreans killed in the last year of the war. What do you think of this traditional decoration for Mersey women? Plates that stretch the lips. Illegal abortions remained a reality in the USA until the early 1970s, when the procedure was considered murder. However, many doctors continued to perform this procedure underground. The owner of the abortion clinic in the photo would be tried for murder. During the filming of Fort Apache, many scenes required specific weather conditions, and director John Ford paid a Navajo medicine man to give him weather forecasts. Several days they were accurate, but one day the medicine man said he couldn't predict anymore. When asked why, he said that an actor had taken his radio receiver. The Great Stingray caught by Captain Can. USA, 1933. Small, large, and ugly people who were exhibited as human curiosities to the paying public in the United States, 1932. One of the last Tasmanian Aborigines wiped out by British settlers, 1869. One of medicine's greatest moments, Toronto, 1922. Doctors Banting and Best injected insulin into children dying of diabetic comas. One by one, they woke up. To ensure the cure remained accessible to everyone, the scientists sold the patent for just $1. Previously, anyone could relieve themselves right on the city streets. A public urinal in Paris, 1875. A crowd of 300,000 gathered on Shanghai's waterfront to celebrate the new year. From the upper floors of a skyscraper, coupons resembling US dollars were thrown with the message, "Happy 2015, causing a stampede. 36 dead, 49 injured. China 2014. Bandits Roost, the most dangerous street in New York, 1888. Prostitute Elizabeth Brown received 7 years in prison for strangling a sailor during BDSM play, Scotland, early 20th century. Berlin residents search for food in the ruins, 1945. A man tries to open the door to his cell in Kigali during the Rwandan genocide, 1994. A girl crossing the border between East and West Berlin. She made it and survived, but not everyone was so lucky. Many were shot. Later, a 4-meter-high brick Berlin Wall would be built along this drawn line. Jack Daniel, the father of the famous whiskey Jack Daniels, died from blood poisoning 6 years after injuring his foot by kicking his safe, to which he had forgotten the combination. The charred remains of the cabin of Apollo 1. 3 astronauts, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, died in the cabin. Demonstration of the Devil's Wind execution method. This type of execution involved tying the condemned to the muzzle of a cannon and firing a cannonball through their body. A man asking for help from a passing car during the brutal genocide in Rwanda, 1994. The first remote-controlled quadcopter, 1941. School bus, 1930s, USA. Men in shorts and cowboy boots serving women at a gas station in Texas, 1940s. Love, Los Angeles, USA, 1959. Determining Racial Affiliation in Germany, 1940. Sponge Vendor, Austria-Hungary, 1904. UCUS, 1951. Prettiest Legs Contest. Women wore pillowcases over their heads to keep the focus on their legs. Homosexual inmates in women's clothing during corrective labor, Colorado, 1900s. Wreckage of the submarine Kursk, Barents Sea, 2000. Inside the fuselage of a Handley Page Halifax heavy bomber after a combat mission, England, 1942. Benito Mussolini arrested for evading service in the Italian army at the age of 20. Switzerland, 1903. He was a socialist and loved playing the violin at that time. He later became a fascist. Indians give a ceremonial salmon to a train conductor. Oregon, 1940. The Native Americans lived peacefully, fishing, hunting, and using herbs for medicine. But then came the representatives of the exceptional nation and destroyed this people. In 18th century England, rapists always walked free. If the victim did not become pregnant, the crime was not considered proven. If she did become pregnant, the court ruled that she had received pleasure, and the offender was acquitted. Italian serial killer Leonarda Cianciulli boiled soap from the fat of her victims. She then distributed these pieces to neighbors and acquaintances. A policewoman removing 2 girls from the beach because of the improper appearance of their swimsuits, 1922, USA. Public punishment of a baker who raised bread prices during a famine caused by flooding, Egypt, 1954. The atomic grandma and her relative grandpa, Marie Curie and Albert Einstein, 1920s. A Vietnamese family fleeing to Saigon during the Vietnam War, 1972. A woman takes a big black cigar in her mouth, USA, 1924. Viet Cong partisans transport ammunition along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, Vietnam War, 1968. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope these photos impressed you. Some may have made you angry, brought a smile, made you happy, or perhaps even caused some negativity. Feel free to leave your comments and stay tuned for the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Bye.